On this episode of The Truth on the Houndsman XP Podcast Network, Josh steps up to the plate and hits another home run. What's it like to hit a home run every time you step up to the plate? That's what Josh does every week. And what you're going to find in this episode is an interview with Brent Roberson. Brent is one of the top handlers in competition coon hunting, and he is known for not only being hard to beat, but also enjoyable to hunt with. He's had his hands on some of the top hounds in the sport and enjoyed success all over the nation with these top hounds. The Truth has become so popular with competition coon hunters that sponsors are actually coming to us wanting to advertise in this space. And I've got some big news for you. We got a couple great new sponsors. One is Cajun Lights. Check out Cajun Lights at CajunLights.com. L.W. Nixon is building a great light there at Cajun Lights. I'm using a Cajun light. It's going to become the official light of Houndsman XP, and check them out. My first real light was a Cajun light. I got it about the same time I got my first real coon dog. Probably the coon dog came first, and then I realized that I was going to need a real light. So I purchased a Cajun Sweet 16. It was a belt light. It was heavy, but jumping from a 6-volt light to a 16-volt light was a game changer for me. These new cap lights from Cajun are high quality, and Cajun Lights is offering you some of the best customer service in the light industry. Give LW a call or go to their website at www. How many W's was that? CajunLights.com. Check them out. But now it's time to dump the box.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Josh Michaelis here with The Truth on the Houndsman XP Podcast Network. And today, I am in, is it Damascus or B Branch? Which one are we closer to?
It'll be B Branch, Josh.
B Branch would be the closest one. And I'm here in B Branch, Arkansas, or on the outskirts, the suburbs, with my friend, Mr. Brent Roberson. Brent, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, Josh. How about you?
I'm doing good. We just went out. We had a nice meal. We're sitting down here recording this, getting ready to go hunting, and we're going to turn loose Old Knot. I assume you're hunting Old Knot tonight, right?
Yeah, we may kick him or Dale. I hadn't even decided. Whichever one you want me to carry, we'll carry.
I don't care what you carry. So it don't matter to me either way. But I got Hazel, and she's an Arkansas dog, so hopefully she can tree coon down here too.
Oh, yeah. We're going to tree somewhere we're headed tonight.
Yeah. So, Brent, we're going to start this off just like we do with all the others. Most people are going to know Brent Roberson. You're a PKC truck winner. You've been around this game a long time. When did you first get your start, not just competition hunting, but coon hunting, period? Was you a young kid? Did your daddy start you, or how'd that go?
Well, Josh, I was a young kid. My grandpa always had he was I guess what you'd say, dog trader.
Mm-hmm.
Every dog he had, most time he called it all-purpose dogs. You know, coon, squirrel, rabbit, deer. It didn't. That's what they done. But he always traded. And my cousins, actually, as far as going coon hunting, I started going with my cousins.
Did what kind of dogs were you guys hunting back then?
Well, I didn't even. Yeah, actually, when I first started going with them, didn't have a dog. I went with them. They had I believe they had a blue tick gyp. They had some half black and tan and half plots.
Half black. Right. Were they good coon dogs?
We treed some coons in these old hills.
Really?
We did. Yeah.
Did you hunt pretty much around here?
Yeah, right here.
Really?
Right over the hill, right there.
No kidding. So you've been here pretty much your whole life?
Whole life.
I know we were looking at your property and your home. Lovely home, by the way, and your property and everything earlier today. And you mentioned that your uncle owned this over here on the other side, just not far from you, bordering you and all that stuff. So it's kind of a family plot, type area, or
well, to the west here is, or excuse me, the north here.
Yeah,
yeah.
When did you get? How old was you when you first started?
I'd say I was probably I'd say 11 or 12 when I started going with I had a cousin that was a year younger, and then my other cousin was 3 years older, and they lived over here, like I say, across the hill, and I'd go over with them, go spend the weekend, go coon hunting. We treed coons, possums,
just whatever,
armadillos.
Whatever the dogs is after, that's what you was after?
That's what we was after.
When did you get your first dog that was just yours?
I would say, I say, so if we was 11 or 12, then I'd say on up maybe 12, 13, somewhere in that same time frame.
Not too long. Do you remember what dog it was?
Well, I had the first dog that I actually had that I would say treat a coon.
I don't want to hear about the good ones. What about the sorry ones too?
Well, the first actually dog I guess I had, I do remember, and it was old Pete, and we was dairy farming, and my dad had done some trading around, got me a pair of walkers,
Yeah.
And I'd go down there on the creek. I called it skunk holler because old Pete bait a lot of skunks.
So that was your first two? You had a pair of walkers?
Yeah, I think the other one was old Sam, and looking back, he was just a big old block-headed, just good-looking walker, and I don't even remember what happened to him, what we done with him.
Where'd you get him from?
He had, like I say, my dad had traded with the something with the milk truck driver that used to come and get the milk.
Yeah. Did a lot of people hunt back then? Did everybody have a dog?
All around here, there's a lot of hunters, and club hunts was big.
Yeah. How many was there a club?
Damascus had a club.
Damascus had a club back then.
Yep.
Did they just do club hunts, or was
That's
it UK?
all they done.
No UKC hunts? No
that I knew of at that time. Yeah.
When's the first time you attended one of those hunts?
Club hunt, I was probably 15. 15. And I had old Pete.
Yeah.
And I went with my cousin. It was a buddy hunt, and he had one of them half plot, half black and tans there, and she was a red. She looked like a red bone.
Yeah.
Called her old. It was Dan and Ann.
It
was Dan and Ann. That's what they named her.
Everybody named their dogs Dan and Ann back then, didn't they?
That's right.
So she was a half plot, half black and tan, and looked like a red bone.
There you go. You liking this? Ain't
That's
you?
Great.
But anyway, somehow we won the buddy hunt, and I don't even know how, but we ended up winning that buddy hunt. And that was the first, as far as just a club hunt I did do.
When was your first sanctioned event?
Well, it would have been some years after that, because I had a Jip that I club hunted around here that I called Queen, but was out of Diamond Jim.
Yeah.
So it would probably, and it was a pup out of her that I went to a first sanctioned hunt, a UKC hunt. I was probably, I don't know, 16. Maybe I may have my years off. But
what was that dog like?
Just we run deer with her during the day, because we'd done a lot of around here. We done all we could do with dogs,
Yeah.
And my cousin got tired over a tree of squirrels while we was running, so he told me to take her and go to coon hunter. So that's what I did.
She's probably better than everything we're packing now.
I don't know. I tell you what she was. I went to that UKC hunt and got beat. I get back home, and I don't know how. Well, by word of mouth, I guess. Anyway, Bob Dean up here at Clarksville. I don't know if you know Michael Dean, but it's Michael's dad.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, somehow he got a hold of me. He wanted to buy that Jip after the first UKC hunt I went to with her. Now, long story short, I sold her for $325 and thought I'd hit the jackpot.
That was probably good money back then. $325 for, but I don't know, how many dogs can you run deer and tree squirrels in the daytime and tree coons at night with?
She got to quitting the deer,
Did she?
Yeah, that was the whole deal. She wasn't running them. So
yeah. What dog did you move on to after that?
Well, let's think about that a minute.
Take all the time you need. Go ahead and think about it.
Well, let's just jump forward there. I had been a pretty good while. I hunted. My uncle got to hunting, and he had some blue tick and walkers, and I handled them around in some UKC hunts for him. Made them night champions, and that.
Did he have some pretty good ones?
Yeah, he had a dog called Deep South Fort Trish that I made night champion for him, and she was out at Bear Creek Rally. Chastine Bramlett had placed her high in the ACHA World Hunt. But I guess as far as just, like I brought up that Queen female, she's just a good dog, tree coons, out of Diamond Jim. But I never went to no like UKCs or PKCs. Jump forward probably 90, 91, I went to a first PKC hunt. Either the Trish dog or my uncle's blue tick, I can't remember. Got beat.
What was the coon population around here back then? Was about like it is now?
There was a lot thinner coons than
was
now.
There?
Yeah.
So it was harder to tree coons then than it was now?
Yes, sir.
I wonder, because, there's a lot of hunters where I'm from. Me and Finley, Noe and Ed and my brother, we all live in a pretty good place, but there's a lot of hunters down here.
Back then it was, all these creeks had trap lines on them, everything else,
So there was a fur market back then too.
Right.
Did you guys sell yours?
We did, but now I kind of come in on the end of that.
Yeah.
As far as selling, I remember selling very few for $25, and it went from there to 10.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I know, because, up home our fur market's different because they're northern coons. The northern coons are going to sell better than down here usually.
Right.
And so ours kind of tailed off later, and I got to where, up until I was 2013, actually, I ran a trap line and hunted hard and sold coons and averaged 2250, before that last boom and bust, deal there. So fur handling and trapping and stuff like that's been a pretty big deal up home. I didn't know if it was, because the farther south you go, it seems like the farther everybody gets away from that.
Yeah, like I say, that they was 2 or 3 fur buyers right here, not
really?
Far.
Yeah.
And I kind of come in on tail end of that, sold a few coons for $25, and then it went straight to 10.
You talked about hunting your first PKC hunts, and you said that was for your uncle?
Yes, sir.
Your uncle's dogs?
Yeah.
You said he had one blue tick?
He had a blue tick he called Old Highball.
Yeah.
And he actually won
Old Highball.
Yeah. He won a king of the blue tick king here in Conway, some big hunt with him,
Pretty good dog.
He was a good dog. Young pup, lost him over here on the Cattern. Got
really?
tangled up in some vines.
Yeah.
Couldn't find him. And
I say it wasn't like we didn't have Garmin's back then.
No Garmin's, no trackers. We didn't have the tracking collars then.
What 90, 91, you're starting to hunt some PKC.
Mm-hmm.
You're hunting, dogs for your uncle. You're handling a little bit. What was the difference in style of those dogs versus what we're packing around today?
Josh, I listen to the podcast and I hear a lot of dogs where they talk about them being together more and this, that, and they're more independent now. But, I look back now when I'm talking about my cousins, because we would take 3 or 4 dogs at a time and everything would be together. But now, I look back at some of them dogs and they was as independent as, what they are today.
Yeah. Yeah. So they having 3 or 4 way splits wasn't uncommon back then.
Well, it's hard to say that with the coon population,
Yeah.
So.
I say within thin coons, you probably didn't want a real independent dog.
Right. Well, and we would take out here and start at point A.
Yeah.
And walk the creek till wherever we come out. Now that's the only difference I see now. Nobody does. You turn loose and go tree.
What did the dogs hunt like? Was they wide, deep hunters like we have?
Yeah, no, probably not. Walked them.
Yeah.
Back, up in that era.
So you're hunting for your uncle. You're hunting some of his dogs. You're having some success in the hunts. What did you move on to after that?
Well, I'd back up a little bit. I had that queen female that I told you I sold Bob Dean. Well, Billy Paul Rogers here in Damascus. I'd heard the name, never met him. As little as this community is, I say never met him.
How on earth can you not meet someone?
Well,
there's only 300 people in the whole place.
Yeah, had met him he had an alignment shop. Had seen him, but never got to talk hunting with him. In and out of their dad, and we never talked hunting. And I was over here in the Ridges hunting one night with that female, and Billy Paul pulls up. And we're in 92 now, so because he had just won the 92 PKC Nationals with Eagle Scout.
Yeah.
And so he pulls up, and we get to talking. He says, well, go with me. So right then, him and his wife, Pat, was there. If Bill was hunting, Pat was with him. And we loaded up and, drove through the Ridges and went to tree and coons. And at that point, I seen a little bit of a difference.
Yeah.
Quite a bit of difference, really, in what I was hunting compared to, like, Eagle Scout.
What was Eagle Scout like?
He was just a machine in that day, and to me, he rode a lot of. You could truck hunting. We'd ride through the Ridges, and he rode on the toolbox, and he'd just give that big old scream out, and you just stop, and bam, get out there, tree a coon, or you could turn him loose anywhere, tree coon.
So he was rigging coons, turning loose to have coons, the whole works.
Yep.
Did have a good mouth and all that stuff.
Big screaming mouth.
Really?
Mouth. Yep. He was out of Screaming Eagle, Buddy Gilbert's, which Screaming Eagle's out of Red Eagle did, Gary Hearns.
So did that, because I know I've been in that situation, and I was just actually, I'm going to give some props to Croson and Jess and everything, because here recently I was hunting Sun, and this was an 18, 17-month-old dog he's a good coon dog, treat a lot of coons. And I went, and I thought I had something. I thought this dog, I can work with this dog. And even me being around all these great dogs and stuff and being able to hunt with guys like you and Jed and my brother and Ryan and all these things, and you see that dog and you're hunting him by himself and he's doing this and he's doing that. And I went down and hunt with Jess, and he's got a pup out of Wipeout Hunter that's the same age as mine. I go down and I hunt with Brian, who's got Laura Lee, who's the same age as mine, and they're on a different level.
Right.
You know, and I know these dogs are the same age, and I'm going to have to compete against these dogs at super stakes. And then me and Jess are close enough, we're going to run into the same hunts and stuff, you know, if Jess goes hunting that dog. And I can't beat them. And I know they're on another level than me. I turned around, I sold him. Larry Hicklin bought him, loves him, scored $7.25 in an hour the other night. You know, good. There's nothing wrong with this dog, but people don't understand that there's levels to this. You know, there's levels. Just going out and treeing a lot of raccoons by yourself is not enough. And so when you're tuneless with Eagle Scout and, you know, you're winning some locally and you're treating a lot of coons, but you've seen that difference immediately.
Big difference.
Did that light a fire under you as opposed to getting something else?
Well, yeah, and what had happened, I left a guy out there by the name of Orville Hutto that kind of run these local club hunts. You know, I was in high school, and he would come pick me up, and we'd go coon hunting, and he had coon dogs. Sure enough, coon treers. Had a half English and a half black and tan. It looked like, a lot of half-breed stuff. You know, and he had a blue tick. Anyway, they was coon dogs. And he would carry me through the week, you know, hunting, and that kind of got as far as learning the stuff about it and everything like that. And then, like I say, when I ran into Billy Paul, the competition level changed. You know, I got to hunting with him, and just seen the difference in the dogs. And, you know, next jump forward some years. Well, I'm in high school, junior, senior.
Mm-hmm.
Dad's putting on rodeos and this, that, and other, so I think I'm going to be a bull rider. And more or less, they drug me around. I didn't ride nothing, you know, so there was some years there. There was years there that I didn't hunt. You know? And then I got back to hunting, and Billy Paul had got this dog out of Eagle Scout called Shaker. And I went to hunting him, and he worked out a partner deal with me, and I was halves on him, and I would carry him to the UKC hunts, but I never carried him to the PKC. Or maybe at a local level. I didn't go to the bigger ones with him. And
how come?
I really don't know looking back. You know, just like I carried him to Battle of the Breeds. I think won second place night champion or something like that. American Heritage won something.
And that'd have been what, 95, 96?
90, probably, like, something
and
like that.
See, I was starting to come up then too, and I was going, and maybe where I'm from and where you're from similar is that UKC was still the big ticket. You know, the PKC guys were kind of odd and over here by themselves, and, you know, it was a completely different world, and the UKC hunts were so hard to win.
And not only like the pleasure hunting circle I was in when I wasn't hunting with Billy Paul, they went to UKCs, you know, kind of thing. But
how many dogs would be at a UKC hunt back then?
Y'all 30 or 40, I don't know, or 50 more. But now I can remember Perry over here, PKCs at Perry, $25 hunt on a Thursday night, and there might be 40 dogs there.
Really?
You know, back.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I know, because I've been a PKC member since 2001. And the only reason I became a member then is because Jeremy wanted me to handle the dog for him out at Walker Days in Brazil, Indiana. And I went out there and handled her, and I don't think I was in another hunt until like 2008. You know, because it was just different. You know, it was a different world, different hunters, different everything, you know, and there weren't a whole lot of clubs around the house. So, I mean, as far as PKC clubs versus UKC clubs, were they more UKC here?
I would say so, you know, to me.
Yeah, and see, like right now, I don't even know where the UKC clubs are.
Right.
You know, it's just that everything's kind of flip-flopped for me, and I know it's still a similar instances. There's still UKC guys and PKC guys, and there's still a crossover. I mean, a lot of us hunt both. You hunt both. You get your 5 wins for the Tournament of Champions. You went out to the Tournament of Champions and all that stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, it's changed a lot, you know, since the mid-'90s as far as who's hunting where.
Right. But now, get back to the Shaker, Bill won a 96 PKC Arkansas State hunt with him. And like I say, I went to, I don't know, picking them Purina points. They had that Purina race. Of course, I wasn't even paying no attention to that. And then, you know, next thing I know, I'm kind of in the race for some Purina points. Never went to no more of them. But anyhow, that was kind of.
What was Shaker like?
He was screaming mouth. The tree went in several times under the minute. He'd been tree. You know, just a coon. He got out of the kennel there at Bill's and got coming back across the highway, coming home, and got hit.
No kidding.
Yeah.
How old was he?
I'd say he was 4 or 5, probably.
What'd you do after Shaker?
Well, jump forward probably about, I'd say 90. Let's go to 98 somewhere in there. Billy Paul had bred Bonnie. It's an Eagle Scout's last litter, and they'd bred Hillbilly Bonnie, which, you know, they'd bred Bonnie to Zeb.
Yeah.
and that's where backwater pearl and all that come from.
Yeah.
But he had a pair of, it was Eagle's last litter. Matter of fact, they didn't even super stake them. They was November pups. And he had a pair of pups and wanted me to pick one. And I picked one and went to hunting that pup, and he went to treeing coons, and we was partners on him. And I just, that's what I done. I hunted him, and he's a nice dog. Yeah. Reminded me a lot of Shaker. Reminds me a lot of the dog I got now. Yeah. Just had a way better mouth and just a nice dog.
What was his name?
Called him Hillbilly Honcho.
Yeah. What'd you do with him?
Well, he ended up, so this was 99. I got in the top 6 of the PKC world and went hunt with him in 99. That would have been in October. He returned 2 that November. That January, diagnosed with blasto.
No kidding.
Yeah. Come down with blasto. We got him over it, lost his eyes. He's blind.
Yeah.
So that was just kind of the end of that deal,
Yeah. Where'd you go from there?
I bought a Jip out of the Arkansas Democrat out of Sackett Jr. We called her Lady.
Yeah. Was she any good?
Good dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ended up winning the state race with her, I think 02, won the 03 state hunt with her, won a pro hunt in Texas with her.
Yeah. How much money did it take to win a state race in 02, you remember?
I looked that up not long ago. It was 32 or 3,400, something like that.
That was because it was all $72 at a time.
Yeah, well, I can remember them back then. I think they had $10, $15 hunt, or 10 or at least $10.
Yeah, I know we had $15 hunts back then. It'd been, what year was that? 02. Yeah, we had a lot of $15 hunts back then. Yeah, and so you winning $34 in a cast. Yeah. It was tough to win 32.
And I did end up partnering on her. Now Jay Hartwick come in and partnered with me on her. Yeah. He runs some hunts too with her. So.
Did you guys ever raise any pups out of her?
We did. I raised a litter out of her and Honcho. And then I raised a litter out of her and Stylish Jake.
Yeah.
And I had a pup out of her and Jake that I placed, called him Ladies Legend, that we got second in the baby stakes with, and then second in futurity.
Yeah.
And probably one of the last years they had futurity.
I'd say the futurity was a big deal.
The futurity, this would have been around 05, somewhere in there.
It was in Aurora, wasn't it?
Well, Selmer, Tennessee.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't they used to have it in Aurora?
I think so.
Yeah.
The baby stakes, that was in Aurora.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got Pearl.
No.
Yeah, you've had so many good dogs, I've already lost track.
I've had a bunch of dogs. I don't know if they was all good dogs.
So that pup was out of Jake?
That pup was out of Jake and Lady.
Jake and Lady.
Yeah.
But what did the Honcho Lady pups do?
They was a couple of them that turned out, and I sold one to Larry Gilbert, and they got him into, I think, the semis of the Super Stakes.
Yeah.
And then it was like, both her litters was like 2 or 3 pup per litter.
Yeah.
It wasn't neither one of them big litters.
So when you got done hunting Lady, what'd you go to?
Well, during that time I had that Legend pup that was out of Lady and Jake, Brian Davis down here had raised a litter out of Terry Bennett's Looking Up Jeb dog, and is looking up. I'm taking that back. He had Dot, which was out of Looking Up Jed, and then he raised litter out of her and Cutter.
Yeah.
And
Cutter was he around here?
No, sir. I'm not.
Where was Cutter from?
North Carolina.
That was Crow's dog, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Crow and Grant's Cutter is what his name was, I think. Yeah.
But he.
I remember him in the books because he was a beautiful dog, black, real pretty dog. I remember him.
He raised that litter there. And he had a little old female getting started, and we wanted me to take her and partner up on her, and I took her and hunted her. And long story short, we ended up getting there was a spring Super Stakes. I want to say it was the 2-year-olds, and I don't remember actually the age. I may have that wrong, and it could have been the 1-year-olds. I had to look back, but she got in the semis. I guess the heads up cast. Win that cast, you're on to the final. So Barry beat me with barbed wire.
Really?
Yeah.
You guys tree a bunch of coons on that?
Thinking back, I don't know if we treed a bunch or not. Can't really remember. I remember my last tree was a big mulberry.
Yeah.
And if I can find this coon, I'm in good shape, and never found a coon. And then we walk out there and run the 6 on Barb. He takes his option, gets her back with 3 or 4 minutes left or something like that, not long. Mm-hmm. If the hour catches her, I advance.
Yeah.
Looking back, there was some issues there that I probably should have questioned and didn't, and congrats to Barry.
I want to take I'm going to back up here a little bit and talk about that. And when we started this podcast, I wanted to tell the truth about what actually goes on in competition hunts. Now, me and you have competed at a fairly high level, and we've competed at low levels, both. And when we talk about questions and arguments in a cast and being cheated or stuff like that, and I try to express the rarity of that. And I remember one night, well, as a matter of fact, the first night I judged you, we were in a shootout. Remember that
yes,
up there?
Sir.
Yeah, you had not. Wes was in there with Ruby. Billy Bell was in there with Shifter. And Brad Ratton was in there with Shooter, if I remember right. It was a 4-dog cast. And I remember this cast plainly because we treat a lot of raccoons.
Yes.
We treat a bunch. And we are, 15, 20 minutes into that cast, or left in that cast, and Knott is treed deep over the hill, and I can't hear him. And you can hear him.
Yes, sir.
And I can't. And looking back now that I know you better, I know you can hear him. And now that you know me better, you know I couldn't.
Right.
And Wes is a good handler. He knows what he's doing. Ruby's just come treed behind us, and he knows if he gets Ruby treed, and me and you had just walked up on top of a hill just 50 yards to see if I could hear Knott, and Wes knows if he trees Ruby and we go to her, he's going to get a recut,
right.
And by the time we go to Knott, the hunt's going to be over.
Right. And
so that's exactly how it played out. And I remember being sick to my stomach that I couldn't hear that dog, because I knew the dog was over there treed, and I knew he was, and I honestly just couldn't hear him.
Right.
And to your credit, you never said anything. You just said, okay, can we walk up here? And as soon as we stopped walking, Wes treed Ruby, and I could hear Knott.
Right.
You know, and you got Knott treed in, and that's exactly how it went. Ruby went over there. She had a coon. She got recut, got a chance to get treed again to win the cast, and by the time we got to Knott, there just wasn't any time left.
Right.
And so that's usually, and I know we were down at the Black Eyed Pea one time, and you had a question there, and you took it in front of a panel, and everybody was perfect gentlemen and friends afterwards. And there's rules in place, you know, to keep, you know, certain things from happening. But I try to express to people that we're not all cheating.
Right.
You know, people have discrepancies, people have disagreements. But one of the things I really want to talk about is that you can be a gentleman in a cast. I mean, we've already talked about all the things you've won. We're going to get into Knott here in a little bit. But your reputation is that, you know, you take things as they come, and you're a gentleman in a cast, and there's not a lot of questions, there's not a lot of arguments about like a lot of the other handlers that are competing at a high level. And are you seeing the same thing in the elite hunts as opposed to maybe a lower level hunt?
Yes and no. I mean, you got your, I guess, I don't know how to word this, you got your lower guys that's the level they choose to hunt or can hunt or want to hunt, whatever it is.
We want to make sure and you know just as well as I do, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, sir.
No, I want everybody to hunt. I don't care if it's for free or if for $1 million.
And there's a few of them that you know there's going to be trouble every time.
Yeah.
And you don't have that in that elite hunt you're calling.
Exactly.
And there's not that troublemaker there.
And you hear it on social media and stuff all the time. That's what happens when you bring money into the sport. Money's the ruination. But the more money that there is on the table, the purer the casts are, the better the dogs are, the better the handlers are, and the better the judges are.
Right.
You know, that's what I'm seeing out of this, and I assume you're seeing the same thing.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I mean, it's just more of a, I don't know. It's just, to me, it's just less stressful. There's like you go out there and you strike and tree your dog, and the judge takes your call and he scores it, and you go on.
Yeah.
I mean, and most people, if you win, they congratulate you. If they win, you congratulate them. Yeah. You tell them to kick their ass late round.
Right. Have you ever had a bad cast in a high-end pro classic? Like just because we've all had, I can probably count on one hand the miserable casts I've had. I've had 5 or 6 of them. But I don't remember any of them being at a high-end event.
You talking about like arguing?
Yes, yeah.
No, I don't know that I have.
Yeah, you know, I don't. At that level, I haven't either. Now, I've had a $30 hunt right at the house that are just miserable.
Mm-hmm. You know, I'm not going to bash no registries, but you know, I don't know. I will say it. I get into that. The 5 cast wins I go to get for the year.
Yeah,
it's the most miserable 5 cast wins I go through.
And that's a crying shame too, because I love UKC's rules. I like their rule set with no leash lock, and you know how they score dogs coming in late and stuff like that way better than PKC. I love it. I mean, I really love that rule set, and I love a lot of the guys that strictly hunt UKC. But I'm in that same boat, I know the first year that they brought the Tournament of Champions out, and I was going to take Duds and get him qualified, and I won, I think, my first 3 or 4 casts, and I lost one, and it was just a miserable experience. How I lost it and why I lost it, and as an argument all cast, and these guys didn't know what their dogs were doing and didn't know the rules, and it was just not very fun. Right. And, and we don't do this to have a bad time. But like I said, and like you said too, I don't want to knock UKC because I think they got a good thing going.
Oh, yes. They're doing a good job.
Yeah. And when you get, deep into the Tournament of Champions or deep into the World Hunt, you're running into some really good dogs.
Yes, sir, for sure.
But it's them first 5 cast wins and that first round at zones or something like that where you're just like, oh, my gosh, But anyway, we went on a tangent there, which is fine too. Where was we? We was talking about.
I'm not sure.
We was about into 2002. 2002.
Well, I think we was whatever year it would have been when I had the Angel female there. Like I say, got in the. I guess it would have been called the semis, quarters. I'm not sure. Top 6. When that cast go on to.
I know what I was going to ask you. Super Stakes. When I take, like for instance, when I took Con out there as a sophomore, as a 1-year-old. Man, I run into a lot of good coon dogs. Thinking I'm going out there, I got a dog that trees coons and he stays out of trouble. I'll get him in Monday night, no problem. But then I went in there and run into some really good dogs at 1-year-olds, and that was in 2016. And then I've been to Super Stakes since and run into some really good dogs. Were they the same way back then, or was they different?
That's I drew good dogs all week out there. And I remember one night that particular year we're talking about, there was a heck of a rainstorm. And we sat out there in it, and didn't nothing do anything. Just how it ended up, I don't even know. I think I had at least minus and everybody. Ended up getting her caught and moving on. Just one of the breaks. Yeah.
Well, you can't fault dogs for in the middle of a dang thunderstorm and stuff like that. But I was surprised at the level that these dogs were at, because I never went to Super Stakes before because first of all, if I win, I wanted to win. And I never had a dog capable of winning until 2016.
That would have been probably, so the futurity was like 05 with Legend. So I'm going to call that 06.
06.
Probably spring of 06.
Yeah.
With the Angel female.
And what Angel do after that?
We hunted her some. Brian granted her out, and I let him take the reins on the UKC, and he granted her out, and ended up selling her. I think. I can't remember. A T-Mac down there ended up having something to do with her, and I can't remember who had bought her, but that's where she ended up. And I'm not, real sure what went on from there.
Where'd you go with after Angel?
To work for no. I'd had a job this whole time, but I had started went to work for the railroad, and that just changed everything completely. There was probably a 4-year span there. I didn't hunt.
And Riley was.
Oh well, he would have been. At that time when I went to work 9 or 10,
Yeah, so you got a young kid, you got a different job. You're traveling some for
traveling
the railroad
quite
too.
a bit, on and off. And what had happened, I got kind of working a job. I was 8 on, 7 off. Well, Doug Compton, he'd had he'd already had some success with Pearl, PJ, some of that stuff he was going on, and he had hickory down there, a dog called High Ridge Hickory, and Bone was just coming on, and. Long story short, I went to hunting hickory for Jim Smith and Jack, but Doug kept hickory at his house. And on my work days, he would keep hickory there and turn him loose a couple of times a week. So when I'd come in on my off days, I'd, hunt him. And that would have been around 2010, I guess, or 2010, something like that. And kind of got me started back. I went to a lot of open hunts. I think we ended up being Missouri. He was registered in Missouri, and he was Missouri's high-scoring pup for that year, and I think won a little over $2,000 in open money with him, and got him in the winter class at 2 nights, something like that.
Did the hunts around here change much from when you quit and went to work the railroad to when you come back, or was it pretty much same folks, same people?
Well, a lot of each time, like that time from 2006 to 2010 was new faces, and then there was an era again there, like I say, where hickory, I went back to traveling the railroad, and they sold hickory, this, that, and the other, and there was a little bit of time there that, I wasn't hunting again.
Yeah.
And I think it would have been, around 2012, Ferris Harness in Texas, he had a female that went back to the old Eagle Scout dog, which was a litter mate to Honcho.
Yeah.
and ended up going down there and getting a pup, probably as a grand pup, down the generation there, and called him Slayers. What I ended up selling him to Owen and Tyler. I called him Bone Slayer. Trained, he was out of bone, got him going good, and then ended up selling him to Owen and Tyler, and them. I think they had quite a bit of success with him, and resold him and stuff.
What did you hunt him in any hunts before you sold him to Owen?
I did. I hunted him in a lot of open hunts. I think at that time they was something called they'd done away with futurity course. They had a junior breeders race or a breeders race going on or something like that, and he was actually winning that junior breeders race when I sold him.
So you've took some time off here and there. You've went back and forth. You've handled some dogs. I want to skip all the boring parts and go straight to knot.
That's fine.
When did you first? And for those that don't know, Hillbilly Knot, he's won a truck. And I don't know what all else he's won. He's been in the finals of a lot of pro classics. I know you got him in down at Athens at the Black Eyed Pea a couple times. You've got him in basically everywhere the dogs went. He's done pretty well. If he hasn't won, he's made a good showing, and that's about all you can ask for out of a dog. But when did you first lay eyes on Knot, and when did you start hunting him?
Okay, the first eyes I laid on Knot would have been, he's 8, so let's call it about 18.
Yeah.
He was 3 coming 4. I had got back in, trying to get back into hunting. I'd got to where I was working local, still the railroad, trying to hunt. Had bought and sold and give away.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many dogs.
So you're searching now.
I'm searching hard. I'm paying off the chain prices, dog hollers, sending them in here. They're 1 out of 8 was probably what they said it was. I just didn't like it, and that kind of thing. And during this time I had drew Knot on a local level at a couple of $30 hunts.
Who had him?
Scotty Burrows and Kyle Baker had him. We call him Preacher for those that might know who he is. He had him, and I just drew him a couple of times, and nothing fancy, but he's over there with a coon. We go to him, he's over there with a coon. Each cast, he's over there 2 or 3 times by himself with a coon. So I knew that Preacher usually would sell something when their Super Stakes was up.
Mm-hmm.
And this dog Super Stakes, during this time his Super Stakes was fixing to come up. And so I just hit him up, and it was after his Super Stakes when I actually hit him up. He was out of his Super Stakes, and he said, I'll take him and hunt him. And I carried him over here and hunted him. Kept him 2 weeks. Seeing some things I didn't like, he wouldn't mind. He made a few, he'd missed a few, and I finally said, hey, I'm going to get on him. I got on him pretty good, and I went to 26 trees and looked at coons, and I called Preacher up and said, I'll take him. He's just a pleasure to have. I mean, he's a pleasure just to take pleasure hunting at night. If there was not another PKC hunt ever, any kind of other competition hunt, he's a pleasure just to take coon hunting.
And when you first got him, you got him off Preacher, did you immediately go to putting him in hunts?
Well, I say that. I'll tell you what I did do when I was trying him. I carried him to a $30 hunt just to see what he'd do. And one of my casts, I think it's $54, one of them big wins. And that's just,
that's how, I mean, if we try a dog or if someone wants to try one of mine I'm selling or something, I'll just take it to a $30 hunt. That's the best way to check them out.
See what they're going to do or not do.
And so when did you first start having some success with Knot in the hunt?
Well, I went in some open hunts, and then I think that's one of them $200 or $300 pro classics kind of got going there, and they had one here at Conway, and I won it. We went back out and won. I think it paid $1,800. We had a pretty good hunt on that late round. We treed I think 5 or 6 coons over here at the place we got. Knot had treed 3 of them, and another dog treed 2. Treed 1, so it was a really good hunt. But as far as I guess what you're asking is the big run, I went to a pro hunt in Queen City, and $300 entry, got down there and got second. So I thought, well, I'll take this money, put a little bit, granted, I was fortunate enough to take that money and put it to the side, and I took that, entered the hunt they got out there at Krausen's, and got in both nights. So that, that was 8,000. So I said, well, I'll take this. I always wanted to go with them $65 hunts. And so I got me an entry at Jed's up there at Mercer one year.
Yep.
And during this time, I'm sick thinking about having this entry. If I don't win, this money's gone. So
is that the one I screwed you out of because I couldn't hear your dog?
No, it wasn't that one. It wasn't that one. It wasn't that one. But long story short, Jim come in. He called me. He knew I was going. He said, hey, I want to pay that entry. So it was good that Jim
That's
Smith
awesome.
come in silent, and he paid that entry, and I got up there and got in, and we split it. I think it was $12,000, so I got me some money. He got his entry back and some money, and just went on from there. He's just a blessing to hunt,
That's the one thing about the high-end pro classics, and they're hard to win. It's hard to win a cast in those. Those are all good coon dogs with good handlers, and they're not paying a $6,500 entry unless you're drawing a good coon dog and a good handler. But it gives the guy like you, who's just a working regular man, or like me, a chance for the dog to pay for itself.
Right.
The dog can pay for itself, and it can pay a little extra, at those hunts.
Right.
You get a good dog, and like we'll mention Wes and Ruby again. I mean, my gosh.
Unbelievable.
Look at what, and what Weed's done this year, and imagine if we had them things when Meltdown was still hot.
No telling what the sky would have been the limit.
Yeah, I mean, that dog was unbeatable for a good 4 years.
Right.
I mean, that dog was winning everywhere. But, those hunts give us and everybody thinks it's just a whole bunch of, and some of it is just a bunch of rich guys that are, dropping, but not all of it.
No. There's guys that, just, I'd say like me or you, that go that work every week and enjoy the coon hunt, and they enjoy to go try to play at that level, and it, if you can keep going, you're good. If the dog's paying his way, then you're good. If not, you stay home a little while.
Yeah, and if you got Hillbilly Knot, you can afford to go to a few of them.
Well, then.
So you've gotten on in at these pro classics, and he's made platinum champion by now, I assume.
Yes, I'm sure, yeah.
And so the year you won the truck, that was, what, 18?
20.
20. Oh, 20.
Yeah,
It hadn't been that long ago then.
Yeah.
I thought it was 18. But anyway, you get a truck ticket on him, and you get in there, and I never paid any attention. I should, but I never paid any attention to, how the cast went and anything like that. So tell me about your truck hunt win.
Okay. What I can remember of it, I hear people tell their cast even big wins, and it's hard for me to think back and remember them.
I promise you, if I ever win a truck, I'll know what jeans I have on.
I understand that. But I'm trying to, I don't, like I say, the first cast, I can't even really remember who I drew the first one. I think we treated a couple. Yeah, I do too. Barry McEwen got us over. Scott was hunting. Engel was hunting the Nellie. I think they called her Nellie, female. And I can't remember the other two. But anyway, long story short, I just not treated a couple coons, and advanced on. And then the next, that's where the kind of what I call if you got a break or not a break, but you could tell luck was kind of with you. I drew that late round. I drew Gracie with Chad Doolin. And Chris Simmons, North Carolina. I can't remember the sticks.
Yep, picking up sticks.
Yes, sir. And
I'm Sticks was the one that went on that.
Did your brother have a dog called Joe?
Yeah.
It wasn't Joe Black, but one before that. Or would it have been Joe Black?
It would have been Joe Black in 20.
Okay. Joe Black. I drew them.
Yeah.
And it got down to, at the end there, me and Doolin's neck and neck. And I've got to, I got to have a coon. Go to me, I've got a coon. He trees Gracie in there deep. And of course, he don't know that I've got a coon because there's no, we end up walking, I don't know, a mile to him that we didn't have to walk because I've got it one, he can't beat me. But, Gracie looked real good.
Gracie was a good coon,
though. Gracie and Knott both treed, I think, 2 or 3 coons apiece, and it was just neck and neck.
What happened after that?
Okay, that would have been the final round, which was Landon, had Pleasure.
Yeah. Hold on a second. I got to tell a story about Pleasure real quick. That dog, I drew him at the World Hunt. I was hunting Bella one night. And I think it was an early round. And I tree 2 coons in the first 10 minutes. I mean, bang, bang. Bella trees one 10 feet in front of us, and then goes in there about 300 yards, trees another one. I'm a 200 on the first one, quarter and 100 on the second one. Pleasure's treat a slick, and he's down. I mean, way down. And I'm thinking, this is over. I had one guy withdrew, and the other guy should have. But Pleasure's treat again. So we walk to Pleasure. He's got a coon, puts him back up to even with the board, I believe. So I'm at 375 or 325, and Pleasure's even with the board. And we got about an hour left to hunt. I figured Bella's going to treat one more coon. This will be over with. And she catches one out in the corn, and we can't score it to even plus or strike, and she chews on it for who knows how long. And Pleasure trees a coon. No big deal. Turn him loose again. He's treed again with about 14 minutes to go, and he's deep. And he's still 2 coons down. He's still got to tree 2 more coons to beat me. And we go to his first tree, and there is 6.5 minutes left to go in this hunt when we get to the tree. And we find his coon with 4 minutes and 30 seconds gone on the shine time, 2 minutes left to go in this hunt. We walk his minute, and that joker goes from about me to your fireplace, about 20 feet, and just goes, oh, whoa, 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 oh, whoa, whoa, whoa,
Bingo.
has another coon and beats me. And I've hated that dog ever since. So I'm glad you beat him.
Well, Landon's I don't know if you've hunted, well, I guess Landon was probably hunting that night. And
great guy.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Respectful. A good a guy.
And I found that coon for him, too, with 430 going on that tree. I wish I wouldn't have.
I didn't really realize it till after that final cast. I think he was 17 or 18 in that cast. And he looked 23 or 4 or something, or older. But anyway, just a nice guy. Nice kid. I say kid at that time. He's definitely not a kid now. But anyway, I remember us turning loose there, and I had a quarter and 100 on a coon. Pleasure was there. I think he had 100 strike and 50 tree. The river dog, I forget what she struck for, but Jason had took a minus and treated her, and she went on. And not Ruger, but Big, County Line Big, Floyd's dog.
Yep.
Anyway,
Floyd
I can't remember what he had done there. And what I do remember about that night, though, is you'd watch them on the Garmin, and it was the levee running there, and the strip of timber down this levee, quite a bit of water in places, and it was like a concrete wall at the end of this. They would not get out of it.
Yeah.
They would go down it, and then they'd be back in it, and you're just like, get over the fence, go somewhere, And anyway, it was just, I remember that about that night over and over thinking, just get on out of there. And none of them would, They wouldn't just not. It was all of them that stayed in that area, which, I guess that's where the coons was. That's why they was there. Pleasure ended up getting treed in some water. I got treed with him. We get in there, and it's a den. I think River treed a coon then, and then.
So that was a pretty good cast.
Yeah.
You've got Jason with River.
Mm-hmm.
Was Jason handling River?
Yeah, Jason's hunting
and
River.
That was right after their Autumn Oaks win too. I think
you're
it?
right.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
And then
there's another good guy.
Yeah,
Jason.
he is.
Outstanding, great guy.
Yeah, he's a little mouthy on the internet every now and then, but he's a pretty good guy.
Maybe so.
I like Jason. Yeah. But no, that's a pretty tough cast to win. County Line Big.
Yeah, nice cast.
Pleasure Dog and River. Those are 3 good dogs you drew.
Yeah, and I remember River Knott was split, and Pleasure, he had treed Pleasure, but Pleasure had come into my tree.
Yeah.
And he took a minus there for leaving his tree, but and he had treed there. They had him shut out on stripe, but with him leaving his tree, he got his stripe minus and coming in there. So it kind of changed something right there, and then we treat another coon. And then I remember not getting treated at the end. They're running the stationary on me, and I'm trying to wait it out because I don't want to treat him till I got to. Floyd treed Big in there. And I'm not paying no attention to that anyway. I'm just looking the other way, listening to my dog, kind of watching the time. And he treed Big in there, and I was thinking, well, that's a good thing for me. Let's take stationary. But he didn't take the call. Shane minused him or whatnot. Didn't hear him. So
Shane Patton was judging.
Shane, good judge. Anyway, I treed, and we go back in there, and it was, end up having to tree him. And we go in there, we can't find a coon, circled up, and we come off there, and we're walking this water, and they're hearing there's dogs in there deep. We got to get back up on the levee before I'm going to be able to, I really not going to be enough time to do anything for the recut. But we get up there, and I don't know, there's 4 minutes we're walking, then there's 3 minutes, then there's 2 minutes. I'm sitting there
That's
looking.
A long 4 minutes, wasn't it?
So we stop up there on the levee. I think there's around 2 minutes, minute and a half, and we're sitting up on the levee in these rocks, and I'm just standing there and I'm standing back from Shane, letting him listen. I'm the only one that's got my dog. My other guy's standing there, and of course, there's a couple of them hearing their dogs, and I'm not saying they didn't hear them.
Yeah.
And Shane judge never heard them. The hunt's over. I win. They go in there, and if they had heard them and got them treed, it wouldn't have mattered. They ended up being treed in a jump pile.
Yeah.
So it worked out anyway.
Yeah, and that's one thing, because I've judged a lot of them bigger events, and there's nothing worse. And you've been in the same situation with me, where you wanted me to hear your dog, and I've no doubt you could hear not.
Right.
But it's hard. Handlers hear their dogs better than a judge is going to hear their dog.
Right.
Some handlers don't hear their dogs, and they're still saying they hear their dog.
That cast you're talking about is kind of funny because that's one of them casts you kind of run over through your head over and over. Well, he's out of it pretty much with shooter. But he's treed in there.
Yeah.
So if he just trees this dog,
Yeah.
Ruby don't get recut.
Right.
And then he was wanting to withdraw, of course, didn't let him. I understand that, that's what the hell it is. And he walked off, and I'm going tonight. Y'all sent me tonight, and I'm thinking, I wish he'd tree his dog. Then he can't recut. But that's the sportsman thing to do, is not tree his dog. Let everybody keep competing,
And I could hear Shooter, but you remember them hills that we was in there, and as soon as we dove over the hill towards Ruby, I couldn't hardly hear Shooter anymore.
Right.
And so if he don't tree his dog, there ain't nothing I can do about it.
Nothing in that. And on the same sense, why would he? He can't win, so why would he try to leash lock somebody,
And, man, we had a good hunt. What did we tree, 11 coons that cast?
I think Knotted tree 3, Shifter tree 3.
And Ruby got cut one extra time and got her fourth tree.
And she'd actually got a circle tree during the time with like a...
I told Wes, I said, you better think whatever squirrel is living in that knothole. Right. Because that's the only thing that saved you from getting minused on this tree. But Ruby, Ruby's hard to beat. Ruby's a good coon dog, and she's going to have her coons.
And Wes is as good as they are out there with one.
Yeah, so. And Wes, like I said, he done a good handler move by treeing Ruby before you could get not treed. Right. And, I think that he would have treed Ruby as soon as I said I heard not, no matter where I was standing.
Right.
So it was just one of them deals. But so you won that truck with not, and we're going to get into that here in a little bit. We're going to take a quick commercial break because you need to refill your drink, and I think I'm going to do the same thing, and then we're going to come back and talk about Knott's pups.
Houndsman XP is very proud of our partnership with the organization Freedom Hunters. Freedom Hunters is a nonprofit organization that takes America's veterans hunting from field to field, from the battlefield to a field near you, when you volunteer your time to take America's warriors hunting with you and your hounds. It's easy. Go to houndsmanxp.com, click on the partnership tab, and it will take you to Freedom Hunters. You can go direct to their website to make donations at freedomhunters.org. Support America's heroes. Let's pay it back. Visit Freedom Hunters at freedomhunters.org, or go to houndsmanxp.com and you can find them on our website, From Field to Field.
All right, we're back after a little coaching from Brent's lovely wife on how to do this correctly. We're going to try it again.
Hey, if I didn't have her, I would be way out of line.
There you go. We got our drinks refilled. Where we ended up with, we were just getting ready to start talking about some of Knott's pups. And the one that I want to talk about mostly is Eagle, which is what your boy's hunting.
Yes, sir.
And I remember the first night I got to hunt with Eagle. And you've hunted with my dogs. I have dogs with good mouths. Jed has dogs with good mouths, and we kind of look for that. And we were down at camp in Texas, and we cut Knott and Eagle. I don't think me and Jed cut anything. I think we just cut those two.
Yeah, that's it.
And Eagle went in there and got struck and got treed, and I thought, you know what? That joker actually does have a pretty good mouth, because everybody says, oh, I got this loud dog, and I never believe them, but Eagle's got a good mouth. And Eagle's a good coon dog. You guys had a lot of success with him, too.
With him, yeah.
And when did you guys get your hands on Eagle?
I picked Eagle up, Josh, when he was weaning age. 8 weeks. He's probably 8 weeks old. He's puppy. Well, I picked him up coming back from Mercer from the Pro Classic.
Yep.
I guess it would have been 3 years ago, because he's 3. So we raised him. So,
and I know Riley's done a lot of winning with him, and you've handled him some too. What did you see when Eagle first started going and hunting? What did you see out of him?
Well, I let him run loose here best I could, and then at the time, matter of fact, the Houndsman dog that Jesse Lively's got down there, he was here. Jared Standridge owned him, and Riley was hunting some for Jared then, and had Houndsman up here, and them suckers get out. I had them in the pen and wasn't doing much with them. And summertime, get out there and go to barking, raising hell. And I thought, I'm throwing the gate like running walkers.
Yep.
And that's what I did. And they stayed gone. That time there, they stayed gone 2 or 3 days, come in stoved up. So I just kept doing that. I'd just kick them out. And if they leave like that, I like it. If they don't, I don't like it. That's that was the first thing that I liked about him, I guess.
When did he go to start treeing coons? When did you start hunting him?
He was probably, I don't know, 6, 7 months old, and I showed him a cage coon, and of course he treed on it, no big deal, and carried him coon hunting the first time, and he treed after we got there. didn't go in there and run the track with the dogs and all that. Treed after we got there, and just went to boy down here at Nate Avery took him, and he was going to take him and hunt him some. And he had a good place to start pups and everything, in the wild, not a pen, just in the wild. Lots of good hunting, puppy hunting. And he called me, and he said, I just told him, I said, this dog just needs hunted. He don't need no cage coons. He don't need this. And he called me and said, he's further along than what I do. I teach him to lead and load, and I do cage coons. I said, well, just hunt him by himself.
Yeah.
So he hunted him by himself, and I got him back. And the first night I got him back, I cut him. He dropped in there 500 yards, made a big, fell tree, had a den tree. And I just went to hunting him from there. Now, early on, he made a few too many trees.
Mm-hmm.
And you just kind of had to work through that,
Yeah.
And he, just seemed like he wanted tree coons.
I know he's got in. Well, he beat me up at La Plata. When was that? In December. And that was kind of a messed up deal because I'd hunted with Eagle quite a bit at that time. We'd pleasure hunted down in Texas, and I'd drawn him and judged him and stuff. So I'd seen Eagle go quite a bit. And I knew dog didn't cover.
Right.
Now I'd seen him cover not a few times, but that's different.
Right.
Dogs are going to cover their dad. Dogs are going to cover kennel mates and do something weird stuff like that. But in a cast, I'd never seen this dog cover, and we cut loose up there at La Plata and had a good cast. But rain gets struck for a quarter, trees a coon over here for 100. I mean, pretty quick out of the pickup. Here comes Eagle a little late. Gets in for a quarter. I thought, well, that's weird. Cut loose off that, rain trees a slick. And they beat and banged around a lot in between then. There was a long time in between them first two trees. The other two dogs in the cast treated a couple slicks. They withdrew. It got down to just me and Riley. And so we cut loose off that, and we get into a shootout. I mean, we treed 4 or 5 coons, I think, in the last 25 minutes of this cast. And rain is treed, and Eagle is treed, and they're about 75 yards apart. And I had 10 minutes left to go, 8 minutes. The cast is winding down. And I knew if Eagle had a coon that I was going to be down. I needed to get rain cut and get her treed again. Well, I cut her, and she just goes 100 yards, bang, falls tree. It has a coon. I don't know she has a coon. I assume she has a coon. Right. She runs in there, falls tree. We go score Eagle's tree. He's got a coon, but now Rain's tree ain't going to matter, and he's only got 1 minute and 46 seconds left after we cut. That little joker goes in there right by Rain, and he can cover her and still beat her. And it sounds like he does. So he comes in there, he comes treed. Riley trees him for a quarter. We go in there, and they're split 15, 20 yards apart. I mean, they're right next to each other. Rain's got a big den tree, and I'm sick when I see this tree. I'm thinking, golly, done deal, but I'm still good because I think Eagle's jealous. I think Eagle's coming in there and jealous treat. I've never seen this dog around dogs this much in my life. And so we go in there. Rain's got a coon on the outside of this den. Plus me up, done deal, no way I can lose now. And we walk over to Eagle 20 feet. He's got a huge den tree. I'm thinking, cool, done deal. He's got a coon on the outside, too, and beats me. He got treated 5 seconds left to go in that cast. Turns out Rain starts bleeding the next day.
It was his lucky day.
Yeah, that made a lot more sense. I was wondering why Eagle was following her around for the first part of that cast.
It worked out, I guess.
It did.
But no, he was. I say you had to work through some trees there. We worked through that, and then that winter, Riley was hunting him in the winter, and this would have been last winter.
Yeah.
He really went to hunting him, and we had a lot of snow on the ground here, and that's something that we don't have a lot,
Yeah.
And he would hunt him through that, and he was having coons. I said, you've got him over the hump. If he's treeing them coons in this and having his coons, and
especially down here,
and not just making the trees, you've got him. Keep him hunted. You got him where we want him, and he's been a nice pup. He's not perfect. He's got holes like the rest of them, but he's got a good mouth. Goes hunting good. Likes to be by himself. Likes to have his coon.
He's one of the nicer young dogs I've been around. That's a nice young dog.
He wanted to get a pup ticket on him.
Yeah.
He's got truck tickets on 2 dogs in the past, and they've sold before he's got to go to the truck hunt. So he's wanting to hunt that truck hunt, And anyway, he took him in December, and I helped him. When he couldn't go, I could, and we got a truck ticket on him in December, and hopefully we can get him there, and be there next year.
That'd be something to have a father-son truck.
Yeah, it'd be nice, I know there's dogs done it, and I don't know if.
I'll bet you a son has not done it with his dad out of a dog of his dad's and all that. I bet that's not been done.
Right. If it has been, the Burdens did it.
Yeah, that's true too. And I guess we better check. Better check because the Burdens
sure enough success up there.
That's right.
All good coon hunters.
They are. What are you seeing out of the other knot pups? I know you got one running around out here out of a trader female that she looks pretty nice. She's just a young dog.
Just young. She's green, knows nothing. I had to go out here the other night and get her. She had a possum bait out here under a tree and kind of in a log there, but that's a start.
Yeah, it is. Their mama's a good coon dog too. That'd be Rain's litter mate sister.
What I'm seeing, like the litter mate's the Eagle, the Buster. He was a more wilder than Eagle.
Mm-hmm.
Eagle was more of a clean dog. I guess you'd call it. Ellis Campbell had Buster lived up here in the hills up here on the Buffalo, and he was pretty gamey. Treated a lot of coons with him, but he was accurate, just dead accurate. Buster was, and I think Trey Perrin's got him in Alabama now. And accuracy's not a problem with him either. They seem to be independent and accurate. Now the ones I get called about, everybody, I'm sure there's some that they've shot that I hadn't got calls about.
So, how many pups do you think Knot's got now?
He's probably got 100 pups on the ground, and Eagle's a 3-year-old. Then the next litter just turned 2, so there was a year in between litters. I've actually got Preacher owns this pup. Him and Kyle and Blakedale all kind of own him there, and he was 2 this month. Yeah, and I've got him out there. He seems to be really accurate, and then from there it goes to, probably a 1-year-old.
Yeah, I say because most of the pups I've seen out of Knot are 6 to 10 months old.
Yeah, 12, 14 months. From there it jumps back down to some that's probably 12, 14 months old, and then everything is under a year. So
yeah, I know after I seen him at that Pro Classic, and he lost that cast, but man, I told people, what dog has impressed you, or what dog would you breed to? And I said, Knot's as good as there is, and he's probably going to throw it.
It's no secret. He's not got the best. I'm not going to run ahead and tell you the loudest dog alive thing. He's not got the best mouth there. But it's all his pups, no matter what I've crossed or that I've heard or been with, seem to have good mouths.
I think that one Aaron Crow had running loose down at his house when I went down there and hunted with him here a while back was out of Knot. It had a good mouth. Okay. It was running rabbits in the yard. It was about 5 months old, Well, we like them gamey, though.
Yeah. I will say that about this Dale pup we got out here. He hunted the one. Preacher carried him to the 1-year-old falls last year, and he done good. Didn't get the right breaks, and he can be sure enough wild on certain nights. It's just depending on the night, I guess. But he really wants to have his coons, and that's a major thing.
I'm gonna make you take him hunting tonight, and I want to see him go now.
That's what we'll carry.
All right. All right, Brent. We've been at it for about an hour. Is there anything else you want to add, or anything you want to talk about?
No, you know me. I do a lot of rambling and running. Hard to follow me, but that's just how it is.
You done good. I don't care what Bailey says. You done good.
Oh yeah, I appreciate you coming down.
Yeah.
Nobody goes hunting with me much. I hunt about, if there's 11 nights a week, I hunt them by myself when I go. So
I know every time I've called you, you've been hunting.
Yeah.
Every time I've talked to you, and every time I've been down here, you've been hunting. So
yeah, I try to go. I don't know if it makes my dogs any better, but it makes me feel better.
Yeah, there you go. Same with me. So we'll go ahead and shut this down, and we'll do her again sometime, Brent. And like I said, thanks for sitting down with me. I sure appreciate it, and thanks for all the hospitality. You and Bailey both. You guys have always been great, and we've always been enjoyable to have a cast and all that stuff,
Well,
so
if you ain't enjoying it, it's time to quit it.
That's right. There's no truer words have been spoken. All right. Thank you, Brent.
Appreciate you, Josh.
This is Josh Michaelis signing off with the Houndsman XP Podcast Network, and we appreciate you listening. Check us out every Friday on The Truth and every Monday on the regular podcast, and we appreciate you listening. Thanks.